Hi, welcome back. In the first section, we talked about the mind and thought, the nature of thought, positive thought, negative thought, the power of thought, and we talked about the concept of life as an opportunity to grow from the lower self to the higher self. And we spent time looking at the nature of these two, the lower self and the higher self. And we talked about happiness and where happiness resides. Now we're going to talk about the techniques. How is it that we can uplift the thought from negative to positive? And we start here. No one else can see our thought. Okay, your dog can. We talked about that earlier. But other people don't see our thoughts. They see our actions, they hear our words. Although our thoughts affect them, they don't directly see it. So if we're going to address our thoughts, we start with this. We have to be our own doctor. Psychologists can't do it for us. A psychiatrist can't do it, or our mate can't do it for us, although they can be beneficial and very helpful. In fact, this world experience is a mirror of our own thoughts, our own thought patterns, our own expectations, our emotions, etc. It's a mirror. And we have the ability to see how the world reacts to us as a tool to help us. But still, we have to be our own doctor. And what we mean by this is we have to look at our thought patterns, the prevailing patterns, and recognize what we're dealing with. Look at them to understand the symptoms of the diseases. What are the diseases? Fear or anxiety or stress or anger, whatever the greed, various addictions that we might have, and all of us have some addiction. Some are socially acceptable and some aren't, but all of us have some addiction, because it starts with the addiction to me and this idea that I need to be happy, and I'm going to find happiness in going after that which is pleasing and away from that which is painful. That's an addiction. So we want to recognize the symptoms that we're dealing with and the cause. Ultimately, the cause is this idea that I'm separate, and we get there. But in the shorter term, what is the cause of the anger? It's something deep-seated within me that is a reaction to a button that's pushed, a particular kind of button. So I want to be able to look at that and see. We want to be able to differentiate between different kinds of afflictions. We want to see the fear, the anger, whatever is causing us the most difficulty. And in one person it may be self-worth, that I don't feel worthy. All of these patterns, none is higher or lower, none is better or worse. Every one of us deal with something. We have gifts and we have challenges, and this falls into the challenge bucket. And then we want to look at the thought patterns and see how serious these different problems are. And it's a kind of triage in the hospital, for example, but here it's thought triage. It's looking at the inner environment and choosing what is the most important to deal with first. So the first steps that we take, we look at the nature of the negative thought. What is it? Anger, fear, greed, lust? What is it? And then the intensity. How long has it been affecting us? And that is it chronic or is it circumstantial? If it's, at this point, if it's circumstantial, if it's, I rarely get angry, but I got angry today, very angry, then okay, we deal with that later. But this feeling of self-worth, and I see that every one of my negative tendencies, or many of them, are related to the idea that I'm separate and alone, and that I can't be fulfilled, and I'm not worth having a partner, or not worth being happy. Maybe that is what afflicts us primarily, and that's chronic. So we need to know that. And how frequent is this thought pattern that we're dealing with? And this helps us to identify the importance. What's our priority? recognize, please, that with these negative thoughts, they affect everyone, but my own negative thoughts affect me the most. I can, for example, I can think something hateful about a partner. I can think it over and over and over again. And the partner might experience that and experience fear and anger and anxiety as a result of it. It's quite possible. Or maybe they won't. You see, when others are doing something that we think of as negative, we're the judge of that. Somebody calls me a monkey, I have the choice of letting that make me angry or not. Now the instinct may respond, and maybe this self-worth question comes, and the instinctive response is anger. But if I see that over time, I can rid myself of the anger, and I can see instead that the person who says it is suffering, right? And I can have compassion for that person. So to the extent of my own practice, I can be isolated from someone else's negative thoughts. But as it comes to my own negative thoughts, my own negative thought patterns, I imprison myself with my own negative thoughts. When I have thoughts of anger recurring or deprecation, when I talk about how bad someone is over and over and over again, then my own thought pattern becomes bad, it becomes negative. If I'm talking about fear all the time, and you should be afraid, and you should be afraid, and you should be very afraid, and then fear becomes my own nature, you see. So we say, you are the prime victim of your own negative thoughts. This is so for all of us. And the technique to change these thought patterns is really literally using thought against thought. But in this case, it's higher thought, this intuitive thought, this through analysis and looking at our situation and recognizing I need to change this. Then I use that power of knowing that I need to change to execute the change itself. It is a higher power that each of us have. It's quite amazing. It's a miraculous thing, in fact. So literally, like taking a splinter out with a splinter, we use these higher thoughts to root out the lower negative thoughts. And we recognize that the negativity gets more serious with time, and we talked a little bit about this already. There are many methods to deal with thoughts, and we're going to walk through these step by step now and take a little bit of time with each of them. And having all of these gives us a toolkit or a medicine bag as the doctor of our own thoughts, thought doctor. It gives us the medicine bag with which to work. We can actually look at the nature of the thoughts and understanding something about these tools. We can decide which one to use in which situation. And this next point is key. So what gives you the power of your thoughts? It is that ultimately the thoughts are not you. Ultimately, we are even beyond thought. Thoughts occur within us. We don't see where they come from. We don't see where they go to. We know they come and go. But they're not who you are. Each of us have experienced fear that we've overcome, or a situation that caused us anger that we've overcome. So what we're demonstrating is that it is possible to transcend. It is possible to change thoughts. And this can only happen if you're not the thought. Finally, if you're not the thought. So all thoughts can be changed. Your habitual way of reacting it's your personality now and your identity, but it can be changed. You can change your personality, you can change your identity, you can change your character, all of this. It's not easy. It's not easy. It's not easy, this life. But if we want to be happy, it requires us to do this. And we have the power to do it. So the thought toolbox, we start, and it's an important concept at this point, this idea of success or failure, and we should visit it. You see, we're on the path of success. We've tried to this point many techniques that don't work, and we've tried some that do work. And maybe we can't tell the difference yet between the two, and the teaching will help us to do that. If we really focus on it and strive, then it will help us to do that. But this path that we're on is not a path of failure. It doesn't end in failure, it ends in success. And it requires us to learn what doesn't work for us. And that's where we are at this point. We're watching this, considering this teaching, because what we've tried to this point doesn't work, and we know that. So we are learning. And if something doesn't work from here, as we wake up more and more and become more aware of our situation and the nature of the world and the nature of us and the power of these thoughts and the ability to change them, as we become more aware of all of that, we also become more aware of the techniques and which technique is proper for what situation, for what thought pattern. And if we try something and it doesn't work, we know what else is in the tool bag. So we start here. First of all, yoga is management of thought energy. Yoga is all about turning the volume control and the divine voice, this highest voice, the pick it up voice, turning it up, and turning the volume on the drama down. And we can say externally that can happen. We can turn down the TV or turn it off, or turn off the internet and turn on satsang and spiritual discourse and meditations and yogasana practice. We can do that. That's a very good example. But even within the practices of yoga, they all work subtly to shift the energy and turn up that divine volume and turn down the self-centered voice volume. Yoga asanas move the energy through the body. They also give us self-control. Learning the headstand, for example, requires us to master the idea of fear of falling in the headstand. We have to overcome it. We have to be courageous. And that practice applies to other decisions in life. Pranayama balances the energies in the body, in the energy body, and it helps to balance and purify the energy, bring us towards a more pure state of energy, which helps us intellectually to have the power to overcome these negative habits. Relaxation, proper relaxation, gives us balance and helps to remove stress. Proper diet gives us more pure energy and less of the passionate or lazy energy. The lazy energy, what is called tamas, or the energy of inertia, is a big enemy of ours, because it prevents us from seeing the truth of us, and even seeing the truth in teaching. It makes us to dismiss it out of hand without even analyzing, without even deeply considering it. Tamasic energy, and this is something that's explored as we get deeper into these teachings of yoga. Lord Krishna talks about it with great import in the Bhagavad Gita. Tamas is a very, very, very heavy, depressive energy that takes us towards addictive, depressive habits that make us suffer terribly. So proper diet helps us in this way, in a way that we can't imagine. We don't even think about the food that we eat typically. We don't think about the way it affects our body, much less do we think about the way it affects our thought pattern. But in fact, it does, and the food, in fact, becomes our thought. If you've ever dealt with nightmares, it will pay you heed to look at the food that you eat the night before the nightmare, the evening before, and shift it. Because often the nightmare is tied to rajasic or very spicy, very hot foods. And then finally, meditation, positive thinking meditation, recharges and purifies the thoughts. It uplifts, right? It brings these higher, longer wavelength, higher wavelength, low frequency, stable thoughts into our life. and brings us into a more balanced state of mind. And then from there, from the practice of yoga, and practicing yoga, and it goes even beyond this, karma yoga, selfless service, bhakti yoga, devotion, and we won't talk about those today, but this course, this positive thinking course, is taken from what is a 1-week course when taught at the Sivananda ashrams. And these other practices within yoga are explored, and they are all of great benefit, again, in turning up the divine voice and turning down the very noisy, self-centered voice of suffering and pain. So that helps us broadly. And then these additional techniques that we step through help us to deal with very specific patterns and very specific challenges that we see in ourselves. The first one is the idea of changing a thought, replacing it with the opposite thought. And we talked about the concept of anger and compassion. These are two opposite thoughts, anger and compassion. If we have someone spitting mad in front of us, and they're literally spitting on us, giving us a shower, has this ever happened to you? We could be thankful for the shower. We could try that. But failing that, the reaction that comes within us can typically either be fear, like I need to get out of here, or anger, like I need to fight this and win. Right? I need to defend myself because myself is being dashed to the sidewalk here. I'm being called a monkey. I'm being called a whore, a terrible person. And I need to protect myself from that, so I need to fight. This idea will come. But if we let that idea come and go, and instead we take a moment and reflect and say, why is this person doing this? Why are they calling me these names? Why? What we'll come to very quickly is the understanding that they're suffering. And suffering, understanding that they're suffering, will lead us towards having compassion and empathy for that person. Empathy is, I suffer too, right? I suffer too. I've suffered like that. I've done things that were unkind because of my own suffering. And by the way, I felt terribly about them after, right? I felt terrible about them after. And you can know the same is happening with them, that this person will feel so terrible after, and they'll wish they wouldn't have done it. But now here they are, angry, all caught up in this instinctive reaction. Replacing with the opposite thought is using this process to find compassion and feeling compassion for them, and encouraging the thought, what can I do to help? I can't do anything right now, but I should find some way to be kind to this person, to be nice to them. They're suffering so much. Maybe I can help in some way. Maybe I can help to uplift them. Maybe I can help to give them some more joy in their life. You see the power in this. Loving instead of hating, same idea. Giving instead of taking. And this idea can come about I need. And we can replace it with I'm going to give. I'm going to give instead. Peace instead of restlessness. So that's one technique, replacing a thought pattern or a thought with the opposite thought. Very strong. The next one is indifference, and this is the meditative practice. If you meditate, there's a concept in Zen meditation, for example, and this comes across to many of the techniques, about letting thoughts come and letting them go. Observe the thought. Don't be the thought. Watch the thought. Be the silent observer. Reside in the peace within. So in this, we have our eyes closed and the breath is inward, and the thought comes. It's a thought of, I'm supposed to be such and such a place tomorrow. I just watch it and I let it fall. And this meditative technique can be used for these thoughts as well. I'm not this thought. I'm not the anger. The anger comes. I'm just going to let it go. Right? Just observe. Don't give it power that it doesn't need. Sublimation technique. To sublimate is an object to change its nature, passing from one state into another. And here we speak of anger in Sublimation. You know, Peace Pilgrim, and if you are not familiar with Peace Pilgrim, I mentioned earlier that she's a great inspiration to me in the pilgrimage, in the walk. And shared her words about not knowing the power of our thought. She had met someone on her walks, a man who had a terrible anger problem, and he was a family man, married with children, and his anger turned physical. Something would push his buttons, and before long, there would be some physical abuse that often happened. And it was a terrible situation within the family. He felt so awful about it. And of course, his wife and the children, as you might imagine, just an awful situation at home. And Peace had come and met them, and they shared this with her, and he asked her for help. And what she asked him to do was, every time he felt the anger coming, to mow the lawn. And she told him to get not a power lawnmower, but a manual lawnmower. So it would take time and energy and strength to do it. And sure enough, she came back a year later and met him. And he was no longer using a manual lawnmower. He was using a power lawnmower. And he shared the story with her. And what had happened is, every time he got angry, he went out, he mowed the lawn. And through a natural process, that anger, which is so physical and can come into the fisticuffs, that anger expelled itself through using the energy of physical activity, mowing the lawn. And after some time, he created a new habit, because through this sublimation technique, after some time, the anger no longer came. And anger is a great example of a negative emotion or a negative thought, which can be overcome through sublimation. Right? If you experience anger, the physical is the way to go to sublimate it. So mowing the lawn, as we just discussed, or gardening, or cleaning. Cleaning is a great one. Cleaning bathrooms, cleaning toilets, cleaning the kitchen. Don't cook. You don't want to impart that energy into the food that you're preparing and give that to others, or eat it yourself, because it's literally eating the anger. But work it out. That's sublimation technique. Concentration technique is the next. To concentrate is to concentrate on an idea or an image. For example, there's a very strong practice called japa, or repetition of mantra. Repetition of mantra is repetition of the divine names over and over and over again. For example, Om Namo Narayanaya is the embodiment in the tradition, this tradition. It is the embodiment of peace. And in different traditions, different names are used, but it's the same peace. It's the peace that's inside. And repetition of that mantra is a kind of concentration if we bring our awareness to it. And we will find that in focusing the mind, that things can happen which would normally cause us to feel anger or fear or lust or greed or whatever negative thoughts we're thinking of, or to feel unworthy, and those thoughts won't come, or they won't be as strong. So that is the concentration technique. We can concentrate on a divine image and keep divine images in the home or in the workplace or in the car, whatever, and focus on those and spend some time focusing on those during the day. They are tremendously uplifting and help us to change, alter those negative patterns. Positive visualization next. See yourself the way you want to be, not the way you think you are. And what you think you are is wrong. This is so for all of us. We're not what we think we are. I'm not such and such name. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a house cleaner. I'm not a street sweeper. I'm not a rocket scientist. I'm none of those. I'm not a monk even though it looks like that, right? I'm not. That's a limiting thought. If anything, I could say, I choose to be this, or I choose to be that, so I'm the chooser. The advanced yogi or the seer would say, thou art that, tattvamasi, that you're actually a child of God, that you're spirit. So visualize yourself the way you want to be, not the way that you feel you are. Visualize yourself without limitations. Visualize yourself as a meditator in great meditation, or one who is a humanitarian, who loves all, who has kindness for all, who reacts in every situation with compassion and caring and love, who is loved by all. Visualize this and find that this positive visualization will uplift and will carry you to that goal. Self-affirmation. Swami Sivananda gives us a beautiful mantra. If we want any mantra, it's this one. And that is, through the grace of the Lord, I am becoming better and better every day in every way. Positive visualization. Self-affirmation. Self-affirmation. You know, you've seen this. You know people, maybe yourself. We repeat often enough, I'm getting sick, I'm getting sick, I'm going to get a cold, I'm going to get a cold, I'm going to get the flu, I'm going to get cancer. Whatever it is, we repeat it often enough. It happens. This is the power of self-affirmation. And it works the same way for good. It works exactly the same way for good. We use the technique in yoga for relaxation, what's called final relaxation. Within the Sivananda Yoga Vedanta tradition, it's used. And it's a way to relax the body by talking to the feet and the legs and the pelvis and the belly and the back and even the thoughts. Finally, even my thoughts are relaxing, and what we experience is exactly that. The heart relaxing, the muscles relaxing. When we tell ourselves this, it happens. The power of self-affirmation is incredible. And we say, so apply it even to this. I am getting better and better. There's no need for the negative thoughts. And by bringing these positive thoughts in, we have less and less room for the negative. We can't have both at the same time. Strive to maintain a cheerful attitude and laugh at yourself. My God, we're so funny. We are. Our habits, our thoughts, and it's not right to laugh at others, but we can laugh at ourselves. We can see it, right? We can see it. We can see the things that we do that are funny. Have a light attitude. Strive to smile. If we really want to make a positive change in the world, it starts with a smile. It starts with kindness. And even if it doesn't change the rest of the world right away, it changes me. Because if I learn how to smile, and there's a beautiful story that I share often about starting to walk and learning how to serve with a walk. And the first practice that I focused on was how to smile in a way that conveys you are loved. You are loved. And this idea came that I wanted to be able to convey that to the absolute best of my ability. So I had to learn how to smile in a way to convey that, so that my smile wouldn't look crazy or it wouldn't look disconnected. And it had to be true, right? I had to really strive to find that place with all that I met. And as it came, the smile became more and more genuine, and the laugh became more and more genuine and rooted. The idea of smiling and laughing as a start is so beneficial and so helpful. Guerilla technique. Guerilla technique is one by one. So many of these prior techniques will help us to deal with thought patterns, right? But we even have the way to change an individual thought. When a thought comes that we don't like, now this is after we've slowed our thoughts down some and uplifted them to some extent, then we find that we will actually see the individual thoughts. It's quite amazing when this happens. But we will see individual thoughts rise and fall. And there will be a thought that we don't want to entertain. We don't want to to conform to it or confirm it, and we can shift it. The thought that, I go to a subject we talked about earlier, the thought that such and such is bad, right? I don't want that. So we can put the time and effort required into getting to the root of that and changing that individual thought. And it's important to recognize that thoughts are part of thought patterns, that they come. Fear and anger are very closely related, right? And fear and stress are not different other than degrees. Fear, physical fear, may be more intense, but stress is not different, even though it tends to be emotional. It still has the same physical characteristics. The adrenaline still comes. The digestive system still shuts down, etc., etc. So the thoughts come with friends, and inviting positive thoughts. And we had the slides earlier in the first part listing many positive thoughts: compassion, kindness, universal love, upliftment, joy, happiness, just to name a few. We can invite these into our life, and what happens is the friends come along with them. We invite in joy, and there's some happiness that comes. We invite in compassion, and forgiveness comes. Like that. Keep satsanga. So this discussion that we have now is satsang. Satsang is gathering with the truth, or the wisdom, the ancient wisdom. That it's not ancient though, it's timeless, the timeless wisdom. This wisdom of who we are, what we are, the power of thought, the ability to uplift our lives through our own thought, the techniques, this is timeless. It's always been and will always be, and it always works. It always guides us towards the happiness that we seek. But we are ruled, as if ruled, by the instinctive thought patterns. They are such a big part of our life, such a big part of our thought process, and the instinctive mind is very, very powerful, very, very strong. So overcoming its tendencies, overcoming this idea, I am the body, overcoming the idea that my purpose in life is to go towards pleasure and to avoid pain, that's the sole sum of the purpose, overcoming that idea requires constantly being reminded. And we're reminded by attending satsang. So wisdom teaching, ideally someone who's enlightened, who has made this transition from being ruled by the lower self to being ruled by the divine self. Someone who is selfless, who is loving, ideally. And if we are not able to be regularly in the company of someone like this, and often that would require us to be in an ashram or a monastery to have that. If we're not, then we would go to someone who's on spiritual path and trying to be in their company and reading the scriptures and reading the stories of the saints. I showed this book earlier. This is a book called Bliss Divine, one of the nearly 300 books written by Swami Sivanada. All of them uplifting, all of them incredibly positive in terms of helping us to see benefit, helping us to be inspired, helping us to feel better about ourselves and our path, and more loving about others and our own self. It's such incredible value. And in this process of upliftment, we say satsang is near the top, in fact, because it provides inspiration. It shows me I can do this. I can do this. I can be happy. I can find what I'm looking for. I can be that. I'm not different than this person, except for my thoughts. And I see that I can shift, I can change my thoughts, yes? We say satsanga should be daily, twice a day, even if possible, morning and evening. Morning and evening. Start the day with that which inspires you. Start it with a reading. You know, I saw from a friend that I was with this morning, she showed me a Jesus app. It's such a beautiful application, and it has the wisdom of Jesus' teaching And it's a different kernel of wisdom every day. And what she showed me was so beautiful and empowering and uplifting. Yes, even apps for iPods or iPads or iPhones or Android. These are all available now. There are great movies on the saints. Great stories of the Western and Eastern saints are out there. The stories written by the saints are so powerful because it is an enlightened one who's telling us about the way. Peace Pilgrim, peacepilgrim.org. That's the website. It's maintained by the Friends of Peace Pilgrim. After she left her body, it was set up. And these friends put together a book based on her teachings, her own words, either transcriptions or her writings. And it's called Peace Pilgrim, Her Life and Works in Her Own Words. And this book is available, free download, also free hard copy. If you go to that website, it's 100 and some pages. It's tremendously inspiring and beautiful. A little bit every day is satsang. There's so many ways to have satsang, but it's important to do it. And we end the day with it because we want these highest thoughts to be the thoughts that we finish the day, because they take us into the dream world also. They take us into our deeper states of sleep. And we don't know the power of them, but the teaching will tell us that they are in fact very powerful and uplifting. So satsanga, stay away from what's called kusanga. Kusanga is bad company. Bad company, that's a band by that name, right? Bad company is negative. Company with negative thoughts, not bad people. Negative thoughts. I'm limited. I'm terrible. I'm this. I'm that. So really, this process is one of bringing what's uplifting to us into our life and keeping away. And we get to this in just a moment. Keeping away from us, especially when we're in this delicate stage of upliftment. Keeping away what brings us down, our thoughts down. And it's not about bad people. It's about the thoughts themselves and the nature of the thoughts and us changing our own thought patterns. This is the battle. Take time in nature. Go take walks in the woods. Go to the park. Go to the forest. Nature is always curative. Whenever our patterns are down in the dumps, we find that simply getting into nature and taking a long walk helps to uplift us, helps to inspire us. And don't miss that. Singing, chanting. There was a study recently that I saw about people who sing in choir, and multiple choirs the members were hooked up on EKG, and doctors, technicians monitored the heart rates. And what they saw, amazingly enough, is that those who sing together, these uplifting songs, the hearts come into union. Not just harmony in the voices, but harmony in the heart. And what we feel is a tremendous upliftment. This is very, very powerful. It changes the mood. It brings us out of a bad mood. We can't sing a love song for the divine or purely love and be mad at the same time. It's just not possible. And finally, the idea is to cultivate virtues. Make a day of the week a virtue day. So Monday, pursue detachment and cultivate ideas of detachment. Tuesday, courage. Wednesday, compassion. Thursday, faith, etc. So this is the toolbox, and there's a tool for each of the negative thought patterns. And now we're going to start to bring this session to a close. And we talk about the personal strategy for growth. And so how can I use these tools in order to change this inner world and uplift the thoughts? We each have to have our own strategy. Within each of us, the mind itself works the same way. We all have the subconscious. Subconscious is very powerful. We all have ego. We all have the intellect. We have intuitive self. All of us have that. We all have the desire to be happy. We all have cravings, but the nature of them are different for each of us. The nature of the thoughts themselves are different. So the strategy for growth needs to be different, because each of us will have a preponderance of different negative thought patterns that we need to deal with. So it requires that we analyze ourselves and develop a personal strategy for our growth. And it starts with this. It's like gardening. And we have friends here today that are amazing gardeners. So I think they'll relate to this. And I pray that you will relate to the concept as well. So how do you make a beautiful garden? And the mind is this garden that is now full of weeds that we want to be beautiful, we want to be blissful, we want to be peaceful so that we can be happy. So the steps are, first, clearing away the weeds. Clearing away the weeds. And we've focused a lot now on this, in this second session, on clearing away the weeds, getting rid of the negative thoughts, the big weeds. And that's the first step. We have to do that, because this beautiful garden that we want can only take root in a plot of land and in a mind that has been prepared for it. And that means it needs to be weeded, right? Secondly, so the first focus is identify the negative thought patterns that we have and go to work on them. Adopt a lifestyle that helps us to deal with those negative thoughts. Again, turn off what's feeding the negative thoughts. Deal with the diet, deal with the physical exercise, with the rest that's required. Yes, sit for meditation every day for at least 5 or 10 minutes. Every day we should sit, in the morning and evening ideally. And if it's only 5 or 10 minutes, everyone has the time for that. We just have the idea that we can't do it, and that's a part of the conditioned self. So we have some preliminary work to do, and that's weeding the garden. And then planting the seed. Planting the seed is this intention to find peace and happiness, the intention to be a compassionate being, to be loving and caring, to be uplifting, beneficial, helpful within the world. So, and all of those are really coming from this desire to find peace. It needs to be strong. And that's the seed that we plant. That's an intention. I want to be an embodiment of love. I want to be kind always. I want to be compassionate always. I want to be forgiving. These are the seeds that we plant. We talked about earlier as intent. And then we have to build a fence. We have to protect the garden. And here, this world today, there's so much, none of which will lead us to happiness, none of which will lead us to joy. All of it is confusive in nature. The talk is about money and objects and things and relationships and sex and drugs and food and all of this stuff, none of which is what we actually want. What we want is to uplift ourselves and be an upliftment to those around us. That's actually what we want, because we want to be happy, and that's where happiness lies. So to create this garden, weeding, planting the seed, and we have to build a fence. And the fence is protecting ourselves from the negative thought environment, right? And here we have to analyze the situation. If we are putting ourselves in a situation where there is fear and anxiety and stress and recrimination and thoughts and words and actions that cause us to feel unworthy, then we need to look at how we can isolate ourselves from at least enough of that to make a difference. Maybe we're in a family situation where we can't get away from everything, but we want to look at it, understanding that every negative, quote unquote, negative activity around us is generating negative thought within us, and that this new environment that I'm developing, I need to isolate myself from as much of that as I possibly can. So this is building the fence. And then we need to water and nourish. And this nurturing is, and we talked earlier about the mantra, about self-affirmation and the power of self-affirmation and the power of positive visualization. This is a part of the watering and nourishing process. We need to nurture ourselves with good energy, positive energy, chanting and going to a yoga center where spiritual practices are observed, or any of the traditions have the same, right? And yoga fits with all of the traditions. Yoga is not religious or specific to one religion. But even if I say no, then there are opportunities within the other traditions. Don't underestimate the power, the energetic power of our diet, the food, the water, the air, the environment that we're in, whether or not we're getting proper rest, whether or not we are encouraging ourselves inside. These are all key. And this is what we're talking about when we say watering and nourishing. It's the environment we create inside. And then finally, visualizing the fruits. We want to look very closely at our path as we go and see the improvements, but also look forward to where it is that we want to be. And we talked about this. So again, see ourselves as kind and compassionate and caring. See ourselves as being anger-free and fear-less. See ourselves as being rooted in the divine, untouched, unruffled by whatever happens, being stable as the strongest tree in the forest, and whatever happens, to be able to withstand it and still be kind and still be able to share wisdom that's beneficial to others. Visualize this, and this is what we become. So visualize the tree of peace that we've planted and that we are watering and caring for. And some of the practical aspects of how do we do this? Take an inventory of how you spend your time today. Where's the time going to come from? And by the way, kusanga, this gossip, the chit-chat, idle chit-chat about nothing meaningful about this person and how terrible they are, and oh, how cute she is, or how ugly he is, or all this stuff. It's just meaningless. And talking about food all the time. Oh my God. And why do we need to talk about food? Why do we need to talk about the weather when there is opportunity to uplift ourselves and uplift those around us? That's the reality of our situation, and this is the choice we have. So we analyze our day, we look at it, and we see where we spend our time. Look at it, write it down, right? Make a diary of it. How do I spend my time now? How much time do I watch television? How much time am I on the internet, on Facebook, or on this or that? And Facebook is great. I use it. I communicate with friends on Facebook. It's wonderful. But how much time am I doing chit-chat? How much time am I spending being aggravated by politics on Facebook or anything on the internet, right? Look, write it down. And then rewrite the program of our life by adding behaviors, practices that are beneficial to us. We start there. And these practices, fill our life with those to the extent we can. Make time from this excess that we've just found in the wasted activities. And yes, there's plenty for cleaning and taking care of the body and all of that. But also, just as important as that is meditation. It's physical exercise. It's pranayama, and not just breathing properly, but actually pranayama, alternate nostril breathing, anuloma viloma. Come into one of the Sivananda yoga centers or ashram, or even Google it if you're not able to in the short term. Learn pranayama, learn it the right way, learn anuloma viloma, and you'll see how uplifting it is. Proper relaxation. We have to find time each day to relax. We can't be happy by always doing what is in the stress situation, by always doing what our little mind, lower mind, is telling us we have to do. We can't. We have to take some time to be in order to be in the moment to find the happiness. So relaxation is key as well. Find time alone, solitude. We all have to have some solitude. It's great being around people, in particular people that are uplifting, but we have to find time to be alone too. Time for reading, time for positive work, work that is beneficial to others and to me, work that I love to do, right? That I love to do, something that fits my own strength. It's not about money. Happiness doesn't have anything to do with money, for God's sakes. It has to do with doing what is fulfilling and doing it for the right reasons. The right reasons are because it's the right. Pick up the can, do it because it's beneficial, because it's helpful, because it's uplifting. This is the reason to do it. Do it because it makes us feel good, not in a pleasing way, but because we love it, because we have a gift. Right? If we have a gift of art and we love flowers, then work in a garden shop. Nothing wrong with that. That's beautiful. There's no higher or lower in this world. Right? The self-worth is there because we're doing what we love and we're offering it to the world. Clean a floor. Some of us enjoy cleaning. What's wrong with that? And some of us enjoy science. That's fine. Some of us enjoy engineering. But don't do it for the money. That always gets us backwards. Mindful cooking, mindful eating. Anything that we do, cooking, eating, is an opportunity for joy if we're actually focused on what we're doing and we're not thinking about everything else. This is why in ashram, typically, if you come into an ashram and you eat, people aren't chatting. There's silence. And the reason is to reflect inside and to reflect on what's beneficial and loving and to really enjoy the food. What is better than to experience the love that goes into preparing the food when we enjoy it? So there's always an opportunity for that. And family time, friends time, and of course sleep. So we have the ability to reorder the day. And if we really want to deal with this positive thought, this is what we must do. We must come to grips with it and write down the calendar and then look at how to spend the time going forward. Growth is day by day, step by step. Every step we take is preparing us for the next step. And this being kind, being compassionate, being caring, it happens step by step. It happens day by day. If we focus on the positive, if we focus on following this highest light that comes, and then we reflect, we will see it. We will see our own growth. And it is important to see it. There's something called spiritual diary that Swami Sivanada teaches us about. And I'm happy to share this as well. It's on the DLSHQ website, an example of it. Sivananda Yoga Vedanta has it, and I've seen many others as well. And it's simply a matter of writing down this new schedule. This is what I'm going to do, and then keeping track of it each day. And you can share it with someone. You can share it with a teacher. You can share it with someone that you're on the path with, a loved one. It's fine, but really we do it for ourselves in order to see. Have a planner for the day, a schedule. This is what we're just talking about. And recognize that the fruits, so we say we do the work for us, but there's nothing more that we can do for the world than to be kind and loving and happy. If we really want a great gift to give to the world, it is to be happy. Because if we can be happy, then we can help others to be happy. But if we're always sad and forlorn and caught up in our own stuff, then what are we giving the world? And somehow we have this idea that that's better. It's ludicrous, isn't it? To think that my anger and my fear is what I really want to give the world? No, if we want to give the world something, be kind, be compassionate, be loving, give that. That makes a difference in the world. We can always use more love, we can always use more kindness, more compassion, right? And through this process of growth, this is exactly what we do. We're focusing on our own practices, yes, but we're focusing on them in a way that we are consciously being kind and loving and considerate. We're consciously changing these negative thoughts and bringing positive, uplifting thoughts where they were. And the fruits, therefore, are shared with all, everyone that we touch. Literally everyone that we touch feels our love, our kindness, our compassion. Everyone we touch is uplifted when we uplift ourselves. There's nothing greater that we can do for the world, period. Keep the faith. When we're following this higher path, when we're following this highest teaching, the way out of the jungle, the way out of the nightmare, the madness, know that we're not the first to do it. This is why it's so important to read the stories of the yogis, the teachers, the saints in all the traditions, because these are real people. They're normal people. They started their life as normal people, and the only thing that makes them different from you and me, essentially we are exactly the same. Essentially, the divine nature is the truth of you right now at this very moment. You only are separate from it because of your own thoughts of separation. That's the truth of the matter. But because of the thoughts, we feel separate, yes? So these stories that are shared with us, these examples, give us inspiration, but not just that, they show us, I can do it. Not just I can do it, I will do it. There's nothing wrong with saying I will be enlightened. There's nothing wrong at all with that. My God, but don't tell others, tell yourself. Tell yourself I will be enlightened. That's my goal. I will be enlightened. I can be enlightened. That's my only goal in life, is to be enlightened. Say it. Say it. If you want to share it with other people, it's fine. Don't get all caught up in it and think I already am. But for God's sake, say it to yourself, and know that as we do this and we do the work, that we are progressing towards that. And don't lose a moment in this. Don't lose a moment, because the lower mind is the procrastinator. Yes, it always wants to take us back to the territory it knows, which is the pleasure and pain. But it also knows that happiness is not finally going to be found in that. You know that. You know that. So we have to turn away from it at some point. We have to start to overcome it. It's not about being angry with it. It's not about being mad at yourself at all. Be forgiving, be loving, but it's about taking these steps in our life to uplift our life. And to do that, we have to start now. Make a drawing of the tree. Right now, put something together on your schedule. Right now, take on a commitment of some practice that you're going to do today, no later than tomorrow, right? Today, do it. Now, do it. This is the teaching. Make your plan and stick to it. Give yourself 3 months, and then give yourself 6 months, and then give yourself a year, right? Give yourself a little bit of time and see what happens with adopting these practices. A brilliant future is awaiting you. The happiness that we seek cannot be found without. That's the universal teaching, universal truth. But it is you. It is the truth of you, and it can be found within. And finally, I would like to thank the teaching and the teachers, and set this wish, and may you join in this, please, that all may know peace and happiness. We'll close with a mantra, with a prayer that is to this. that all may know happiness, that all may travel from darkness to light, from suffering to happiness, from enslavement to freedom. And finally, the freedom we wish is freedom from our own self, from our own negative tendencies. So please join for a prayer. Om. Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandim Pushtivardhanam Orvai Rukameva Bandhanan Mrichor Mukshya Mamritat. Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandim Pushtivardhanam Orvai Rukameva Bandhanan Mrichor Mukshya Mamritat. Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandim Pushtivardhanam Orvai Rukameva Bandhanan Mrichor Mukshya Mamritat. Om Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha Sarve Shantu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashento Makashit Dukhabhak Bhave Asatoma Satgamaya Tamasoma Jyotir Gamaya Mrichor Mamritam Gamaya. Om Purnamida Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudashate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Peace Peace Peace. Om Bolo Satguru Sivananda Maharaja Ki Jai. Om Bolo Shri Swami Vishnu Devananda Maharaja Ki Jai. Jai Gurudev. Jai Gurudev. Thank you to the teachers, to the teaching, and to you for joining this. And please contact me anytime. Please reach out anytime, any place. The website, which is shown here, email, phone, Facebook, all of that contact information is on the website. And please know that you are not alone on this path, that it's a path that all walk, and many have walked successfully to happiness that they seek, and that you have the support that you need, that resource is inside and also outside in the teachers. And if I can help in any way, if I can support your path, this is why I do what I do. And bless you. Thank you so much. Om Shanti. May all know peace.